Welcome to the Impact Multiplier CEO podcast. If you're a chief executive or if you think like one and you want to create exponentially greater impact, then this show is for you. My name is Richard Metcalf, founder of Xquadrant. I coach some of the most successful and impressive CEOs and executive teams on the planet and help them achieve even more extraordinary results. Because no matter how successful you've been in the past, there's always a whole new level of impact available to you. So, if you're ready to play a bigger game than ever before, I invite you to join us and become an Impact Multiplier CEO. Today I speak with Remco Samuels, who is the Chief Executive of EVBox, a leading provider of smart charging stations and software. It's part of the Engie group. Remco had a really interesting career. He started in audit, he joined Engie as a consultant in finance, and then he gradually expanded his role and his skill set. And we talk quite a lot about how he did that, how he actually became a rounded executive, able to take on the CEO role of a company that needed quite a lot of turnaround. And then we also understand, how did Remco manage to influence across complex organizations, especially as a Dutchman having to influence within a French culture, quite a unique situation. And then we talk about the turnaround process itself, the journey of purpose that Remco went on as he did that. And then what's next for both that company that's really scaling up big time and also for him as chief executive as he levels up his own way of operating. I enjoyed this conversation. This is Remco Samuels. Hi, Remco, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing your story. EVBox is a really interesting company. You came into it, I think, a couple of years ago, found yourself in a bit of a turnaround situation, and you've really changed things for the company. You were just telling me before we hit record that you've just had a great article published in the National Financial Times, in the Netherlands, that perhaps signifies a little bit the beginning of a new chapter for you. So I think it's a great moment just to take stock of the journey so far and find out what your mission is and why you got involved. So before we go any further, just tell me a little bit. What is EVBox and how did you get involved in this journey?
Yeah, so EVBox is a technology company. So we manufacture AC and DC chargers. So AC, those are the chargers for at home or at the workplace. DC, those are the fast chargers you see along the highways. We manufacture those. We are also offering our own software solutions. So both the firmware that goes in the hardware, but also the software platform that, for instance, manages the chargers, the transactions, etc. And a third big block that we are doing is our own service and support. So basically, we have the full range of solutions for our customers, and our mission is to accelerate the transition towards cleaner mobility, e-mobility, for our customers. So that is EVBox in a nutshell. We are based in Amsterdam. A little over 700 employees. We are active in multiple regions, but our key regions are Benelux, France, UK, Ireland, the Nordics, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and then the US. We have a facility there as well.
So fantastic. So obviously, it's given the whole energy transition and everything else, and climate change, it's a relevant and exciting business to be in. And I know that you had your prior career. You're in Engie, which is multiple utility company, right, and not necessarily just on renewables or on clean energy. So I'm just kind of wondering what journey was as you were doing different roles in this huge company, and now you became chief executive of, I guess, a smaller, higher growth entity. So there's a lot of change, I guess, in that. So what was the transition between the two? How did you end up in this role?
Yeah, good question. That's a question I always ask myself as well. How did I end up here? But I started my career in auditing in EY. And then in 2007, I joined Engie as a consultant first. Later, I joined the company in full in 2009. That was in finance, so I was responsible for finance in the Netherlands. Then the CFO back then asked me to come to Brussels, where I did finance for a European business unit of Engie. So that was for me the idea. Okay, let's see a bit more of this group, big group. Netherlands is just a small country, so I wanted to explore a bit better there. And in a year or so, they asked me to move to Paris because there was a restructuring, and they wanted me to lead the strategy department of the global retail activities, which was for me totally out of my comfort zone, as you can imagine. But I thought, okay, hey, if you don't try, you will never get there. So I went there as a Dutch guy in Paris. You can imagine that's not the easiest from a cultural standpoint, but also from a content because this was completely new for me. I did that for 3 years, get to travel all over the world, managed to have a very clear strategy and execution plan for Engie that they didn't have before. So that was really appreciated. And from there it took off. I went to operations for 2 years, so I also got to learn much more about the operational aspects of a business. So far, it always has been support. Let's be honest. Until the moment came that in May 2021, EVBox was in the process of for the IPO. So they were supposed to be listed in the US. But things did not went very smooth, and they asked me to step in. So I stepped in May. I came to Amsterdam, and I found a really interesting opportunity. Obviously, I had a lot of experience with Engie, but never in a company like EVBox. But what I tried to do here is to say, okay, take one step back. EVBox is a very promising company. It's one of the early adopters of this technology, let's say, but they came at a point that the market was growing so fast and in all directions, and they wanted to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And so for me, I could use my experience on strategy retail. That was also looking forward. So what is going to be the next big thing in the retail business when it comes to energy? That was very closely related also to mobility, electric mobility. So I could use that experience very well in EVBox.
So it sounds a bit like, Remco, it sounds like you've almost got sounds like you had this perfect business trajectory, perhaps because Engie's a organized and structured and big company, right? Because it sounds like you did your finance. Well, you came in as a consultant. You did the finance. You did retail. You did operations. So you really kind of got a panorama of the business. I'm curious because that sounds like an ideal situation from which to then be offered a CEO role. But also, probably not everybody in Engie got that opportunity or created themselves, shall we say, the opportunity to do those different roles. So just looking back, how did you do that? What did you do to be able to move from audit to finance, more general finance to retail strategy to operations, to the CEO role? What do you think? What's your advice as you think about?
I've been asking myself that question as well, because indeed I saw especially many Dutch people that went to the headquarters in Paris fail. I managed to grow, and I managed to even step up there. I think two things. So one is I'm very eager of thinking outside of my own expertise. So I really liked to think about what's the next big thing. And so also for Engie, where is Engie going? And Engie had also difficult times because they restructured, they carved out businesses, they needed to focus. That really intrigued me. So I had this intrinsic motivation of understanding the strategy and understanding what could I add to that. So that's one thing. And I think the second thing is more on the personal level or interpersonal level. Especially as a Dutch guy, you are very direct. Huh? That's what Dutch people are known for. And that's a good thing, but it also has some negatives. So if you go to for instance, France, but in many other countries, it makes very good sense to really try to understand first before you want to be understood. So I think that really helped me. I was really patient. I listened to my French colleagues. And from that point on, you can be very direct, and you can really say, okay, but now this is how I look at things. And that was really appreciated. So from there, I could even use it as say, okay, sorry to be a bit direct, but hey, I'm Dutch. And then you start to create your own your own image there that is appreciated. Yeah. So I really felt I was in the right place in Paris. So I spent there 6 years. Got a lot of attention from senior management because of my openness, my transparency, but also respectful way of working. And they like that. And obviously, I also understand a bit about where this company is going and what I can add to that. So I think those two. So really try to be really try to think to see, okay, what is really in the hearts and minds, let's say, of the Engie XCOM. What are their issues? What are their problems they are trying to solve? And if you really understand that, and you have a good connection on this personal level, then you can make it. It works for me.
Yeah, that is great. So it's a great point. So sometimes you're right. What I'm hearing is sometimes when we're visionary and have our ideas, we can push too hard because we haven't necessarily heard, right, the people opposite us, or they don't feel heard.
That's a classic mistake, and I've seen people saying, "Yeah, okay, but this is how I look at things," without knowing the bigger scheme of things. And so you have many people in a room. If you start to fire off your ideas or your opinions, etc., they feel that is not respectful. You're arrogant. It goes totally in the wrong direction. Yeah. If you really try to understand, test the waters in the room. How is everybody thinking about things, and you create your bigger picture. From there, you can really make a difference.
Yeah, it's a leadership tool that I talk about quite a lot, which is just very simple: push versus pull behaviors. Right? Often we're very strong at one of those. And less good at the other, right? So some people, they're great at listening, but they don't always communicate clearly. Other people are great at saying all their thoughts, but haven't necessarily picked up on the broader context and haven't created ownership. So it's a great reminder.
I agree. Yeah. To find the balance there is, that can make the difference.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
So let's kind of move forward. So you joined EVBox. The IPO didn't go ahead as planned. You have to come in with a bit of a mandate to look at things and turn things around. What did you find, as you arrived, and what were the biggest challenges you had to overcome?
Yeah. So what I found was still a very motivated community. So EVBox also has this sustainability goals, let's say, which is really attracting people. So that remained, but also there was this dream. There was this dream of EVBox going public and being this $1 billion company. That dream was washed away. So a lot of people also felt a bit demotivated because of that. So my task was, okay, we need to make sure that we quickly close the past and we can look forward again, but in a way that we can really really grow our business. Because, like I said, EVBox was basically in too many activities at the same time. And so they were opening multiple markets, also with regional offices. They had multiple product lines, all with their own architecture. They had so many customers, also smaller customers in the systems. Yeah, we said we need to focus. We are only with, back then it was a bit over 800 people, but still very small if you look at the total market for electric mobility. So we said we need to make some choices. So we closed down offices, right, which was really tough.
Let me just jump in for a second. I want to just kind of understand the situation. So you go in, there's all this stuff going on. People are demotivated. There's a lot of dispersion. Like, where did you start, right, in terms of, you literally arrive. How did you kind of think about your own plan? Before you even got to the stage where you identified we need to close down this thing and do that and consolidate this. How did you kind of look at the whole situation? How did you attack it?
Yeah, there are several answers there. So first, my first priority was to make sure that there's a management team that I can really trust, that I can really empower, because honestly, by myself, it would have been a mission impossible. So that was the first step. And so we have indeed changed a few people, also people that left by themselves. They felt more connected to the previous EVBox, let's say. So we built a new team, people that I can really relate to. That was one thing. Second, then we spent time with the team to say, okay, we all know that what we are doing today is not focused enough, so we need to make some choices. So we spent a couple of days off outside, and we said, okay, this is going to be our focus. Also, we had some strategic studies, of course, saying these are the markets that you need to be in. Right. We decided to stop product lines. That plan was set, and honestly, that took a bit too long, if I look back, because the whole company back then was, of course, eager to learn where we are going. And so they know what we are not going to do, but they were questioning, would say, but what are we going to do? And honestly, if I look back myself, I failed there for a couple of months even to be really crystal clear in communication. And so I think when you are in a turnaround like this, the biggest task that a CEO needs to do is to make sure that everybody stays on board. Everybody understands, okay, this is the process we are going through. We don't have all the answers today, but this is what we are working on. Yeah. And we failed that.
Yeah, because that void can sometimes create a problem, right? Like where you say, we're not doing these things, and people, yeah, but what am I actually doing? What are we focused on? And actually that void is a killer. I remember once in Cisco, we had a very similar situation. There was a new organogram at one point put up, and I remember everyone looked at this organogram and it was like, I can't see and there was no existing team on this organogram. So like everybody suddenly was the next day was in limbo mode, which was not at all the intent, right? But everyone was like, well, what do we do? Do we even have our team call next week? Because but does it even exist?
Exactly.
And that created a huge issue.
You can imagine if you change so many things in the company, you also see a high attrition. So many people left, also middle management, many people left. So you can imagine, the teams below, they were also in limbo. So it's okay, what's next? What is going to happen? But we, as a management team, we had to do several things. We had to fix some legacy issues. We had to build some basics, and we had to prepare the future. And so the new strategic plan, all at the same time. And we forgot a bit, I must say, to take along all the entire EVBox community. And that was, we clearly we clearly explained that in a town hall meeting, this was not great. So we are going to do this way better. And as from that moment, we had regular information sessions where we said, okay, this is the process we are following. And also, okay, this is the way we are moving forward. That really helps. But in fact, as what my biggest learning as first-time CEO was, because I had many roles in the level below CEO, and I always thought, okay, if I would be CEO, this could be so much better. I can do this and that. Well, guess what? That's not the case, right? All of a sudden, you are overwhelmed with internal things, with people from the outside world, shareholders, customers. Everybody is at your desk, and the first thing you need to take a step back and say, okay, what is my priority? Where do I need to put most of my time, if you can even manage that? So my biggest learning was you do have the full responsibility of the company. You do have the ability to change, but it's never going in the pace that you want, and basically you're just a servant to the company.
It's Richard here with just a quick interlude. If you're serious about multiplying your impact, I have a free resource, that you won't want to miss. I've put together a short email course called Exponential Leadership Principles. In it, I set out how you can use the same strategies as some of the world's top leaders to get out of incremental progress and achieve breakthrough results. Be prepared to have your current thinking challenged and to learn some very new ways of leading. If you're interested in following along, simply sign up at xquadrant.com/go/exponential. And now back to the conversation. Yeah, and the more that you actually try to intervene as CEO, generally the more negative effects you have, because you are actually stepping on everybody else's toes who's actually meant to be doing the work.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's totally true. Yeah.
So we were just going through this process. So you had your new management team, you had your 2-day retreat to focus, you identified the new product lines you wanted to focus on. Was that kind of the main 3-step plan, or was there another part that we didn't get to in terms of, your main focus as you moved to turn the company around?
Yeah, so indeed it was about lesser product lines, but also less customers. So we focused on specific segments, specific customer types. So we also had to say goodbye to customers that were actually really loyal, but just couldn't grow with us and didn't fit in this focused plan. That was also a big step. Yeah, and then it's about culture. So there are many things I've said about culture, but if you are moving from an organization that basically focused on, or didn't focus, they went for, they shoot for the moon. Let's say they went for everything at the same time. Right. It was a very siloed organization, so there was no culture of ownership. There was not the result-oriented culture was not there, and that was basically my biggest concern as well. So how do I get this total machine running in a way that is basically helping us forward, instead of fighting all kind of internal battles over this is not my responsibility but yours? That was not clear at all. But the good thing is, yeah, many people left, many people came in, of course. So also that generates a different culture, as long as you as me as CEO is very clear in every communication. This is our purpose. This is the vision that we have. This is the strategy. And this is also the execution plan. And I kept on repeating and repeating until the moment came that people said, I'm totally annoyed by you explaining the same old story again.
And that's perfect.
So, okay, this is the...
Yeah, well,
now we are
annoyed, you're kind of cutting through. Right, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. This is great. One, I know you've been provocative, right? Because you're talking about culture and the mission as well of the company. And on one hand, obviously, the CEO, you need to really embody that mission, and it's a very clear mission in this whole world of electric charging. And yet, I could be cynical and say, well, you're just this hired gun, finance guy brought in by corporate headquarters. You don't really care about this business. You've just been parachuted in as part of your corporate career. You'll do this. You'll cut a few heads off and you'll go off and do something else within the group. I'm being cynical, right? But people could see it like that. So it wasn't like you founded the company and it was your baby from birth and all this. So I'm just kind of wondering what your experience has been of kind of moving from this, doing these different things around the world with Engie, and then kind of actually becoming the CEO of this group. And how that's affected your own sense of purpose, or how that's what your journey's been really on that whole question of mission.
Yeah, I think if you ask the people here, they would say in the beginning when I came in, I think some people were a bit afraid, because indeed, what you said, that was the perception. This guy is coming from the headquarters of Engie. Engie is basically a financial holding company that has some investments that need to be providing them profits. So he's being put there to clean up and to move away after. Well, that's not who I am. So if you look at what is intrinsically driving me, I'm really interested in in helping others. I really like that, so I can really relate to people in all levels in the organization. I like to have a coffee. We have a big coffee table here downstairs in the lobby, where I meet all kind of people from all levels in the organization, and that really gives me a lot of energy. So you can see, I think, throughout the first year, people start to see this guy is actually, he cares about the company. I care about the people. I really believe in our purpose, but also the market that we are in. So I think if we do things right, we can create a beautiful opportunity for 700 EV boxes, and that's what I like to do. I get a lot of energy from that. Last week we presented our new brand, so this will go public in April. So we had this brand reveal party in the Westergas here in Amsterdam. Beautiful location. So we shared the video, which was really energizing. And after, we had a big party with everybody, and we've been dancing, we've been talking, we had some drinks. This was beautiful, and actually nobody was afraid of stepping in to say, hey, Remco, this is what I see, or I'm a bit concerned about that, or help me understand this. So that really gives me the impression that we are doing the right thing here. So yeah, that's totally different than the perception that people might have had at the beginning. But as I told you, yeah, I rolled in several positions from Netherlands to Belgium to France, but not because I was so eager or so ambitious to position myself in there. No, it happened because, well, apparently I did a few good things, but it came also from I think from who I am.
Yeah, I get that about you.
And that helps me now.
As you talk about that, you even put your hand on your heart as you talked about people, and I think that must be it. You're a people person, and I almost, as you were talking, the phrase that came to my mind was that people were the bridge. What I mean about that is perhaps the I don't know, I'm going to say serving the people actually might have been the way that you moved around before, because you had that, you said you listened, right? You understood, you related, and that was important. And as you came into this new role, perhaps it was the people that was the bridge into that then sense of purpose and mission.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
that's what's coming to my mind as you talk, just the energy that I'm getting. So fascinating. Yeah.
Of course, but that also has some negatives, of course. This behavior, but we might get to that. I don't know. But...
well, okay. Well, let's actually go there, because one of my favorite questions is always asking people, like, what's the next level? Because no matter how far we've got, there's always a next level for people to get to. In fact, I find with my clients, that some of the most accomplished leaders on the planet, and yet inside they just feel they're getting started, and that they know there's much more that they want to do and accomplish and create. So for the business, first of all, like what's the next level for EVBox? Like if we were having a conversation in a couple of years, where would you like things to be?
Yeah. So to give an answer to that question, we also need to take a step back, let's say 1 or 2 years back. So if you look at the market in Europe, so European Commission has announced that in 2035 internal combustion engines need to be phased out. So that would mean that there will be hundreds of millions of electric vehicles only in Europe. Let alone we are also in the US, we are in the Middle East, we are in Asia. So this is going to be huge. So we are just at the beginning today, although we already exist since 2010. So we said that this is the right moment to really build some basics to be able to really scale up. So we have selected manufacturing partners that help us mainly on the AC side that can do hundreds of thousands of stations. We are investing in our DC manufacturing capacity ourselves, also to get to higher numbers. So we need to have an internal organization that works. So that is what we have been working on. So the basics are set. We are ready for a real scale. We have the new products that are really of good quality. So if you ask me now in the 3 next years, year on year, we have to see growth percentages that are, let's say north of 70% year on year. If we don't manage that, we will lose market share. And we are now one of the leaders. We want to remain one of the leaders. So we need to grow in that pace. So EVBox will really stop being a startup scale up, but we will really be a hardcore scale up with streamlined processes, with really a profitable business model.
Yeah.
So that is also what I, of course, it's always good to be in a position where you can accelerate transition to e-mobility, but there's also a shareholder that expects a return on their investment in certain time. So I think now, between now and 3 years, this is going to be reality, and that is that's a huge challenge, but it's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's a real shift from So you've laid the foundations, and now you have to kind of get the return on all of that, right? And drive it. And so I guess the question that comes to my mind then is as CEO, what will you need to do differently? Where you need to put your focus differently, or even show up as the leader a bit differently in that new environment if you want to multiply your own impact? What comes to mind there? That's kind of a bit of a vulnerable question, because I'm kind of asking you to say, like, what are you going to have to work on yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about this exactly, and it almost looks like we studied this question, Richard, which is not the case. No, what I told you before, I really like to stand in the middle of the EVBox community. I like to talk to many people. I invite them if they have questions, concerns. Always invite them in my office. They always know where to find me, and I spent a huge amount of time on that. But to be really honest, that is not helping me making the biggest impact. So I still like to do that, but I need to manage my time way better. And what I do need to continue, obviously, is to communicate where we stand, where we stand in our strategy execution. We have to keep on communicating that. But other than that, I need to focus much more of my time on customer visits, putting EVBox in the news, obviously, making the brand well recognized. We also want to be a thought leader in the industry, so we are also part of Charge Up Europe. So that's the association for the industry that is actively supporting, let's say, the European Commission on regulation. Actually, we are this year, EVBox has the presidency of this alliance. There I need to put my time. So internal communication, really important. Customers, really important, but I have not spent enough time, in my opinion, on that. And putting EVBox at the center when it comes to thought leadership and being a recognized brand for that. There I should put my time. And that is very difficult, because intrinsically, I really want to relate to all the people here in the company. I like to help them with all of their problems or their questions, but I just cannot have the time for that. And that's you cannot be in all decisions as well. And so you really have to let go of things, which I sometimes find very difficult.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being honest with that. I mean, I see that all the time. It's a challenge, right? Because we have to let go of the things that made us successful, and that we know how it works. You know, you get to a high level by doing certain things, and then you realize, I'm not going to get any further unless I let go, and that can be difficult. I mean, in fact, it's why I wrote my book, which is called Making Time for Strategy, because it's not just a productivity hack that you need. You know what I mean? It's actually, you said, it's intrinsically you have this pull towards your people, towards some of the decisions, towards some of the activity. And I was talking with a client about it just yesterday, the same kind of thing. This client, she said to me, like, I should be doing more customer visits, right? And I was like, and we got into it because it was a should for her, right? It was a should. And there was various things, that she was in resistance to about that, the way she felt in those meetings. Was she adding value? Was she relevant? Did she need to be there? And so we had a whole conversation about how do we actually create something which makes those exciting and scary and fun, all those kind of things that we feel when we're kind of breaking new ground, rather than something that just has to be ticked off the list in her role. And there's a bit of a breakthrough there, I think. So what I kind of hear is there is that tension with you where you're kind of like, there are these things you need to do, but your heart is still a little bit
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, it's internal versus external, and obviously, if I have to let go a bit more of those internal activities to focus more on the external world, which is, I think, a very important thing for a CEO. But I'm also a bit afraid that I lose my connection with the work floor, with the people here, and that is really, I fear that they're going to see me as, hey, this guy's unapproachable all of a sudden. He always been there for us, and now we can never reach him anymore. He's always out, and yeah, I really want to still balance that. But that is my personal challenge.
Yeah.
And I think it's feasible, but we need to structure that a bit better.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being open with it. I think it's because I think it's actually sometimes when we speak these things out, actually, it helps us shift as well on this. And we all have something, right? We all have that thing which is pulling us. It's what I call reinventing our success formula. It can be quite hard because we know what works or has worked.
Yeah.
Well, hey, okay, this has been really fascinating. I guess a couple of quick fire questions before we go. First of all, what's the favorite quote that you live by or that you tell your teams?
Let me think. Well, what I always think is the way to get started is to quit talking and to start doing, because I've seen that a lot. People always have great ideas, great strategies, etc., etc., etc. But then a couple of months later, you come together again and say, okay, where do we stand? And nothing has been done. They have been redefining their strategy, etc. So at some moment in time, just do it, right? That's a quote. And the other thing, because obviously we have been under a significant amount of stress in the company. I've seen very good people, unfortunately, leave with almost burnout in burnout situations. That was really, really sad to see. So one of my favorite quotes there is about resilience. Resilience is about how you recharge. It's not how you endure. And that one I really like. And I always give that back to the teams. So really take time to recharge your batteries. In an EV company, that's a nice quote as well. It's not how much you can handle. I think that's an important one.
Yeah, nice. What about a book? What's a book that's influenced you on your journey?
Well, maybe you heard it already a bit in the interview, but it's Stephen Covey. So the 7 habits of effective people, and from there you can say that the win-win I really like, but also seek to understand before you want to be understood. That is a really important one. Be proactive, act. So yeah, I really like that book. I'm not a big fan of management books because I always see a big difference between theory and practice. But this one really has some actionable things in there, and that I've been using that in my whole professional career. That helps.
Yeah, it's a classic. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, okay, it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed kind of getting into this whole story of your career and how you build this diverse skill set, and then what the journey was like as you came into this company, turned it around, prepared it for this hyper growth phase, and then being really honest about like where your own stretch is going to be as you lead it forward. If people want to find out more about you or about EVBox, how do they best do that?
Well, the EVBox, they can find it on our website, so evbox.com. And if they want to know more about me, or that's Remco with a C, Samuels at evbox.com. Again, there I might be overwhelming myself again with a lot of activities, but no. That's really what I could advise, what I like to do. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, like I said, I really like to be a very approachable guy. That's also my biggest challenge. But I learned in life that being humble, being accessible, be very transparent. Also about your concerns. I always share my concerns also with my team. And I think with that, you can only grow.
Yeah. Well, thank you
So
for that. Yeah, I guess the last thought is that whole one of serendipity, right? It's like there's that balance. Sometimes people can be so focused that they actually cut out the serendipity, the chance of new conversations and the new ideas that come in. So there's always a balance, I think, that we find between like being focused and like not talking to anybody else because we're doing our project, versus kind of being so scattered in conversations that we don't make things forward.
exactly, you need to find a balance. Totally agree, Richard. Yeah.
Remco, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to following you along in your journey as you go forward.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Richard. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Now let's talk about you. When you're in top leadership, when you're in the biggest role of your career, who supports you at a deep level as you lead others? Who helps you multiply your impact and get to the next level? If you're ready to learn more about our content, our coaching and our community, then visit us at xquadrant.com.